Good morning, Kenya. If you're just joining us, you're just in time for press review. This is Morning Express. But before we can jump into that, let us quickly just remind you of our Twitter poll question this morning. Make sure you tweet us at KTN News, at Michael Gitonga, and at Zinzi_K. We're asking you this morning, are you satisfied with the way media has covered the floods? We're asking you today, are you satisfied with the way media has covered the floods? Make sure you use the hashtag Morning Express, and we'll be able to collect some of your feedbacks throughout the entire part of the show. And we're asking you again, are you satisfied with the way the media has covered the floods? All right, so get tweeting, and would love to hear some of your thoughts in regards to that. Share pictures, share videos, and so much more. As we wait for that, as we're collecting some of your feedback, let us jump straight into press review this morning. And with me, closer to me, is Carol Chege, who is a governance expert, and closer to Oliver Chege, or rather Carol Chege, it's Oliver Kipchumba, who is an advocate, rather. Guys, it's so good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
So let's just jump straight into this. Our very first page on the Standard this morning, it's in regards to Raila's next steps with Uhuru Kenyatta. We've seen him calling for amendments of the Constitution. This is what he said, and I quote, "Some of the issues may require changes to some of our laws and even amendments to the Constitution. When that time comes, we must be bold." We've seen Raila Odinga asking for change of the Constitution. NASA leader Raila Odinga declares that the constitutional reforms are inevitable and rallies ODM to push for implementation of his March 9 deal with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Oliver, I'd love you to jump into this one. And my first question would be, do you think that IEBC is ready? Do you have confidence in IEBC? If today we were to say as Kenyans, yes, let's go for a referendum. Do you have confidence in IEBC that we will hold a credible referendum as in regards to what Raila Odinga is asking for?
I think the first question should be, are we ready for another electioneering period?
Right.
And the answer will be no, because Kenyans are already jaundiced. We have been through a whole election period. Yes, the referendum and the changing the constitution is not a bad thing. And the constitution in itself dictates that there is no timeline for holding a referendum, which is a price we pay for democracy and for being in a dispensation of this nature. But the question we must ask is that which is good for ourselves.
Okay.
It is good to take this discussion to the party level, but a good constitution review needs a constitutional moment, which might be bipartisan by nature. But what we might not achieve at this juncture with the current turmoil at IBC, remember we have two other things coming up shortly. We have the delimitation of the boundaries.
Right.
It's a constitutional timeline.
Right.
It will happen next year. We have the national census. All these needs very huge budgetary allocations. And first of all, we do not have the referendum question. So we cannot begin from the end. The referendum should not be an end in itself, but a means to an end.
You know, Kipchumba, I'm glad you brought in the issue of financing, because that was going to be my next step. Fine, even though we are able to hold an entire referendum, financially speaking as a country, can we even be able to do that?
We cannot, because look at it this way. The main reason why we hold referenda is it should be bottom top. But where we find ourselves, we are holding a referendum which is not organic in nature. What is the cost benefit for Wanjiku, the taxpayer? We cannot hold a referendum to create a position for Zinzi. We need to put into place the interests of Kenyans. If today we are talking about introducing something radical that will touch on the 49 million Kenyans,
that's different.
It will be worth our money.
Right.
But we cannot say we want to reduce the presidency by creating a prime minister. That is the same way I was saying you are building a new house of the same size with the other one, just because you want to change things from the other house.
Carol Chege, as a governance expert, what are your thoughts in this? Number one, can we financially hold a referendum? Two, do you have confidence in IEBC if today Kenyans were to say, okay, let's go hold a referendum?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Number one is, I understand that the referendum, one of the key referendum issues is that they want a prime minister who will head the parliamentary system in Kenya. Now, as we look at Honorable Raila Odinga, ODM and NASA and CORD, they have got several governors, several senators, several MCAs. How about that these people who are already in place, they are governance leaders, they are leaders in their own right. They have the They have the exposure to be able to implement whatever it is that CORD want to implement. You don't necessarily have to be the head of the parliamentary system to ensure the things work as according to how they're meant to work, because they are MPs in the parliament. They are senators in the Senate. How about the CORD people be able to work? And this is the issue. One of the issues that Honorable Raila is talking about is ending corruption. When we continue to misuse taxpayers' money, Kenyans have lost the value in their ethics, in their work ethics, in valuing the work ethic. What is the point of you working so hard, earning a living? Almost half of it goes to taxes, and then the taxes is used to expand an already growing executive, and then this executive will only look for appointment and jobs for a few. Is that beneficial for our country? Is it profitable? There are millions of young people, hundreds of thousands of graduates who have graduated, they have no jobs. Millions of youth, women, people with disability don't have jobs, but we want to expand the parliament for a few. Is that profitable? Is it helping our values? Because some of the issues that Honorable Raila raised were very credible. He said inclusivity. Inclusivity as a nation. Is that inclusive when we are only looking at expanding the national government for a few? He talked about shared prosperity. How is that shared prosperity when only a few of this nation, maybe 10% are prospering? I mean, you know, with the current flood situation, we have thousands of Kenyans who've lost their lives. Are we looking at the key issues, or we are looking at a referendum that will benefit a few elite, or will it benefit the entire nation as a whole?
Then someone would then criticize that handshake that we saw between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, saying that if this is the case, if holding a referendum, if Kenyans have to dig deeper into their pockets to fund your offices, then that handshake was just a very selfish handshake.
Can I just say that 80% of that handshake was very good? Number one, it brought peace to the nation. Our shilling grew. And then another issue is that it brought about inclusivity. Now, different tribes and different cultures are able to integrate without so much animosity. And then another reason of the pact is that he talked about having a united elections, not a divisive election. After elections, we are always very divisive. We divide ourselves. So he talked about unity through the election process, safety and security for all Kenyans, shared prosperity, you know, inclusivity in appointments, in all forms of national unity. Now, the thing about this thing is that the pact and the handshake is profitable and beneficial for all Kenyans. It's only the referendum that is not beneficial for all. But 80% of the handshake is good.
Kipchumba?
Yeah.
First of all, I think the greatest danger we are facing as a nation is that we are groping in the dark in terms of what the handshake really entailed. Outside the 9 key issues, we do not know outside that what were the other variables in the handshake. And we need to run away from the idea that the handshake was supposed to solidify with the referenda. No, that is not the truth. The handshake was the coming together of 2 gentlemen on their own. A voice inner in them, deeper voice, convinced them that it is good to come together. It gave us a feel-good moment. But for democracy scholars, you need to ask ourselves, where does the handshake leave our democracy? Now we do not have an opposition, strictly speaking.
Ekurokot?
Yeah, no. You cannot be an opposition if you do not have a voice in parliament.
And the numbers as well.
So we need to ask ourselves, and that is what we need to ask scholars, what does this do to our country? How has it happened in other jurisdictions where we do not have opposition leaders? But the main thing we should focus now, we should not use the handshake to further other interests, which the Right Honorable Prime Minister is very good at. Now that the things are not clear, we can interpret it to mean what he says. If he tells us we agree that besides this handshake, there will be a referenda, we cannot dispute. What we need to do now is the steps from Arambe House where this thing was done, and the 14 members, we need now to move to another step whereby we are saying we need these actions that bring us together. We need to clamp down corruption. Shared prosperity needs to be seen. But besides the point, the other thing that must be said and must be categorically stated is that Kenyans are overrepresented. You have 6 people representing you, and you can't see the value. We have floods now. We have no legislation to work on the floods. We have floods. Counties are not doing anything. The manholes are, there is a problem in this country.
Right.
We need to make sure that the local mwananchi gets value for the 6 representatives. We cannot add another one, a 7th one in the name of a prime minister with no value.
Okay. Take a look at this. This beautiful yet inspiring story that we've given one of the headlines to. And it reads, and I quote, how 2 boys pulled their mother from rubbles in a mudslide. Brave brothers dug through debris to rescue their 9 months pregnant mother from their damaged house after it caved in. How beautiful is that? It's inside our paper. But now let's head over to the next page. I'd love us to jump to page 10 this morning. And it's in regards to one very interesting story that has also caught the attention of quite a number of Kenyans, especially online. Let me just grab that for you in just a moment. So I hope I was also going through the dailies that you plan at home to get this. So look at this. Varsity hotels turned into dens of prostitution, crime, and drugs. Let me bring your attention to something, all right? Take a look at this. In April 2016, the government, through the Ministry of Education, then under Cabinet Secretary then of Education, Fred Matiang'i, directed that all universities and constitute colleges implement biometric. See how technology comes in? Biometric identification systems and automate students' records. So the CS, Fred Matiang'i, directed the Council, or rather the Commission for University Education, to supervise the implementation of directives, meaning that security within our hostels for our students, who comes in, who goes out. What were your thoughts when you've seen that headline where we are saying varsity hostels rather, turned into dens of prostitution, crime, and drugs? Carol?
This is very rightly what is happening in our nation. We are looking at it from a point of view of biometric, looking at the number of students, and the issue that is only a symptoms when we are trying to identify the number of students and all these digitalized and biometric records. The issue is, have universities students lost hope in this nation? Do they have any hope to anchor? Because do the university students value? I remember back in the days when students of universities like Nairobi University and Makerere University, it was a privilege and an honor to be in these universities. These are the people who transformed East Africa into the continent or to the region that it is right now, because these students had hope. They knew that they were coming to, build a nation, to create great livelihoods. But right now, even if you graduate with top grades, if you don't know who is who, nepotism has killed the hope of the students, the lack of unemployment, the youth always been told negative words. The millennials are being told that they add no value to this nation. They are saying there is no space. There is no space in our nation to be able to build up the talents, the abilities of these young people. And even those who pass, maybe they have copied, they don't really value education that they used to. So the education, the CS right now, the Honorable Amina, needs to look at where have the university students lost their values. What are the values that they can hold on to, that they can anchor to change? Because at the end of the day, lifestyles is not, behavior change is not changed by words. It is changed by action. What is our government doing to transform these students' lives?
Kipchumba, listen to this. Why your child may not be safe in Kenya's 56, not 1, not 2,
56.
not 10, 56 universities. Your thoughts?
Since the problem might be in terms of policy. We have good policies, but implementation becomes a problem. Look at what as we speak now, we have had a prolonged lecturer strike.
Right.
We have a lot of time in the hands of these students. They have nothing constructive to do. There is the old adage says that an idle mind is the workshop of the devil. So, one, we need to cure the perennial strikes. 2, we need also to make sure that in terms of as we enroll people to a university, let's make sure that they all graduate at the same time. You visit some of these universities, you have people who are doing their 10th year in university, they have not graduated, they have all manner of names. We need to make sure that the turnover is equivalent to enrollment, so that you do not have people who remain behind, who have lost hope. The same will be translated to the new entrants into the university. So we need to make sure that first graduations, we audit from the graduation level. If you enroll 500 students, why are you graduating 200? Where are the 300?
What's the problem?
Yes, the third point is this. HELB is disbursing money continuously to people who are not learning. Learning is not taking place. We have had strikes. What are we doing about it? These are students who have money minus what to do. The fourth point should be this: we need to develop what we call adjunct faculties in these institutions, whereby there is mentorship, direct mentorship. You get these all retired people mentoring students. For example, you take James Mwangi from Equity Bank. He mentors economy students in, let's say, University of Nairobi. At least they have something to look up to.
Right.
And the fifth point, as I end, is this: we have sensationalized matters in this country, whereby hard work is not the basic minimum. People use all manner of ways to get into the fame light. So as time goes by, the morality we have moral decay, and it has oozed all the way to our universities.
So if you want to get details of that specific story, university hotels turned into dens of prostitution and drugs, make sure you grab your standard newspaper this morning. Let's head over back into a bit of politics. Page 11. Kenyans say members of parliament don't deserve pension rise. Let me bring your attention to one small little number, not small. 2.85 billion Kenyan shillings. That's the gratuity of legislators who were not elected. So take a look at this. Let me read for you the first paragraph, which should grab your attention. Kenyans have reacted in anger to news that members of parliament made huge budget allocations to fund their retirement after after voters kicked them out. All right. There's one specific one that caught my attention, and it says that. In effect, taxpayers are being punished for rejecting their representative at the ballot. Carol. So we don't vote you in, and what we get is that we're paying for your pensions and an increment of that, for that matter.
First of all, let us start by saying a member of parliament's position is not permanent and pensionable. So if their job is not permanent and pensionable, and that is why they have left their jobs, why are they getting a pension? That is one of the things that they look at. And these are the things that are making our university students and a lot of the youth of this country degrade. That is why their talents are not being touched or things like that, because we are looking at legislators. All they are doing right now as a nation, we have floods nationwide, bridges have fallen apart. There is no legislation that is being passed to help the flood victims, to help the environment degradation, to help the youth of this nation. All we are seeing is money going to 10% or 5% of this nation. How is it that there is billions for their pension, but there is no money for floods? There is no money there is no money to pay lecturers. There is no money to look at the doctors' needs of this nation. There is no money for the university students to be able to have maybe talent hubs in their universities. Can legislators get back to their real... leaders are called to serve. And in this nation, it seems leaders have put themselves into place to serve themselves. But also, let us ensure that as a nation, we do not let this go silent. Let us talk about it and refuse it. Let us refuse it as a nation. Let us not accept this as business as usual. It comes a place where, as a nation, we must say no, an end to this. Every year, when a new government comes in, this is the first headline that we see, and we accept it.
All right, listen to this. A former member of parliament who served for 2 terms confirmed that he had received gratitude soon after losing in the August polls, and is waiting to attain retirement age to receive the agreed monthly pension of 125,000 Kenyan shillings. Also, let us quickly jump over to The Nation. There's a story in The Nation that captured my attention as well this morning, and it's in regards to Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i wanting to slash the police. VIP police rather, that are specifically given to VIPs. That specific one, because I'd love to read for you guys and our audience details in regards to that, and to share with you the numbers, and to show you how this is quite a big deal. Kipchumba, just your thoughts on that, as I am looking for that specific article of how, Fred Matiang'i wants to slash down police that are located to VIPs. The numbers is just unbelievable.
One, I believe we should not make leadership. We should not increase the premium of leadership in this country.
Right.
It is the reason why we have contested elections. If you are looking for a reason, there you have it, where people can walk into parliament and increase their premiums. While we are talking about problems, lecturers are going back to class with no pay increment. We have all matter of problems. These are the same people asking to be given protection, VIP protection. When we are talking about the police citizen ratio, we need to attain the UN set standard. The government might be doing a lot by increasing the number of policemen, but we need also to focus on key areas. It should be noted that VIP protection is not a right. It is a privilege. And a privilege in itself does not create a right. You do not deserve or demand to be given certain privileges.
Kipchumba has a point. Let's look at some of those numbers. So this story is on the Standard. The way things stand currently, Kenya has about 100,000 police officers in total. Out of that, 1 in every 7 police officers is deployed to guard a VIP. So, well, that leaves us with about 70,000 police officers in the entire country to work with. The VIPs have about 12,000 police officers in total assigned to them as bodyguards, drivers, cooks, and messengers. Of the remaining 5,000 are in the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Some 9,000 officers are in the General Service Unit. Let me go all the way down. About 4,000 assist traffic movement, leaving less than 50,000 officers for more than 40 million Kenyans. Hence why Matiang'i, as you can see in our headline, says he wants to slash that VIP protection. Carol, your thoughts as well?
I applaud the CS Matiang'i for this move because we have areas in this nation where policing is very minimal. There are some areas in the northeastern, in the borders of our nation where policing is very minimal. The UN recommends that 1 police to every 450 citizens.
Yeah.
In our country, we have one police to every 440 citizens. But at the end of the day, we only have 50,000 police to look at 49 million Kenyans. Well, our borders, the policing is very minimal. It is a right move, and it's actually overdue because at the end of the day, as I said before, that leadership is about serving the people, not serving self.
Also,
so,
right, all members of parliament are entitled to at least 1 police bodyguard and 2 each for their homes, up country or in the city, wherever they choose. Some policemen are also deployed as some VIPs as drivers. All right, now let me quickly bring your attention to the Daily. The Daily is running with the specific story of businessman Timothy Kariuki, who was attacked, should I say, by goons, 4 arrested. Goons still at large. Of course, police yesterday arrested 4 men, among them a member of parliament, in connection with the last week's daring brutalizing of Nairobi businessman, Mr. Simon Mbugo. What were your thoughts when you heard of this? I mean, well, we've seen Mike Mbuvi Sonko saying that he had nothing to do with that, despite that the goons were there hackling over the fact that Timothy had said something negative about Mike Mbuvi Sonko. What were your thoughts when you saw
What
that?
worries me is not what my reaction was. I had 2 questions for myself. I didn't hear anything from the media owners or the journalists there. I did not hear anything from the hotel association trying to say this thing in itself should not be discussed in national media. It is barbaric, it is ancient, it is anything that is wrong in a society. To do it in the 21st century whereby somebody after the new constitution cannot hold a press conference, a Kenyan, a person living within this country,
And critically,
it is just the wrong thing that can happen. And I think any leader who is even mentioned in line with this should be ashamed of the action. Look at what this might have. We have not heard anything from the hotel where this event happened. What are we communicating to the world outside there? We are a tourist nation. Does it mean that when a tourist is in their hotel, they are not safe? Because if goons walked in a broad daylight, covered by the national media in this country, and did whatever they did to Muriuki, it is very offensive. And I think that the guy demands an apology.
Also, I'd just like to add that Sonko really needs to build the capacity of his team, because if you read the story, they thought that he was going to criticize Sonko. It is a right of the citizens to be able to criticize their people. So Sonko needs to build the capacity, the professional capacity of his team.
All right. So
Lastly,
Carol Chege will have, because of time, Carol Chege will have the last say in regards to that. But make sure you grab your Daily Nation as well as the Standard newspaper this morning. It has the details of all those stories that we've taken a look at. Morning Express is taking a commercial break, but we'll be right back with Michael Gitonga. Stay with us.